I will call to order the meeting of Lincoln County Board of Commissioners on this 16th day of June of 2025. If you would, please stand and join me for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, everyone has an agenda in front of them. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add under consent agenda items, letter N for a resolution opposing Senate Bill 205 to the agenda.
Okay. Everybody understand that motion? Everybody understands what the agenda stands now? So I'll now entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as modified.
So moved, sir.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The agenda is adopted. We will move on to the adoption of the consent agenda as modified a few moments ago. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
All right. We've got a motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The consent agenda is approved. All right. We will move on to item 3, Planning Board recommendations. Jeremiah.
Good evening, Commissioners. On June the 2nd, public hearings were held for 4 rezoning cases and 2 special use permit cases. Following the joint hearing with the Planning Board, they deliberated and voted on their recommendations on those 4 rezoning cases. It's my pleasure to present their recommendations to you this evening. The first is Plan Development 2018-3-A2. Bloom Incorporated was the applicant on this proposal. This was a request to amend the master plan for an existing plan development industrial district for a 40,000 square foot office and showroom expansion. It also involves the reconfiguration of some of the existing parking on site, as well as the addition of another driveway access for the development. That 70.9 acre site is located at 7733 Old Plank Road in Catawba Springs Township. The Planning Board unanimously voted 8-0 to recommend approval of the request, and you have their adopted statement of consistency and reasonableness in your packet.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Jeremiah? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the statement of consistency and reasonableness as presented by the Planning Board.
I make a motion to adopt the statement of consistency and reasonableness as presented by the Planning Board, sir.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. The ayes have it. I'll entertain a motion to approve PD 2018-3-A2 Bloom.
I make a motion to approve PD-2018-3-A2 Bloom Incorporated applicant as recommended by the Planning Board, sir.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. That passes. All right, on to ZMA 751.
On the next case, Brian Moore, the applicant, is requesting the rezoning of a 0.87 acre parcel located at 3012 North NC 16 Business Highway from conditional zoning neighborhood business to industrial general. You might recall from the public hearing, the conditional zoning district currently in effect on this parcel was for vehicle sales. It was from quite some time ago. The new owner, Mr. Moore, wishes to also be able to perform vehicle repair, and so that requires a rezoning to the industrial district. So he has proposed to rezone it to general industrial, and he also had a public hearing for the special use permit for the vehicle sales and the vehicle repair, which will discuss here in a few moments. You have the planning board's recommendation in your packet, their adopted statement of consistency and reasonableness, and they voted 8-0 to recommend approval of this request.
Okay. Anyone have anything for Jeremiah?
Yes, sir.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adopt the statement of consistency and reasonableness as presented by the planning board.
I make a motion to adopt the statement of consistency and reasonableness as presented by the planning board.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, ayes have it.
Sorry.
You're fine. I will now entertain a motion to adopt or to approve ZMA 751 Brian Moore.
I make a motion, sorry. I make a motion to approve ZMA number 751 Brian Moore applicant as recommended by the planning board, sir.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So that passes.
Next is ZMA 752. Timothy Guyswhite was the applicant in this case, and this was a request to rezone a 2.66 acre parcel located at the intersection of Old Plank Road and NC 16 Business Highway from neighborhood business to general business. You might recall from the public hearing, the stated reason for the proposed rezoning was to allow the flexibility to exceed 10,000 square feet total floor area for all of the structures they're proposing on this site. And the applicant indicated they intend to develop a church campus here. The planning board voted unanimously 8-0 to recommend approval of this request, and you have their adopted statement in your packet.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Jeremiah? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the statement of consistency and reasonableness as presented by the planning board.
I'll make a motion.
All right, we got a
Go ahead,
motion by,
Alex.
we got a motion by
Makes no difference to me.
Commissioner Patton. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. I will now entertain a motion to approve ZMA 752 Timothy Guyswhite.
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Patton. Any discussion? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
So that pass, opposed? All right, that passes as well.
All right, and the last rezoning case for this evening, ZMA 753, Troy Motts was the applicant in this case, and this was a request to rezone a 6-acre portion of a parcel located at the intersection of NC 150 and Lee Lawing Road from residential suburban to general business. You might recall from the public hearing, the stated intent for the rezoning was to permit a potential gas station or fuel station on this corner. This is a rezoning of only a portion of a larger parcel, just the 6 acres on the corner. The planning board voted unanimously 8-0 to recommend approval of the request, and you have their adopted statement in your packet.
Okay, anyone have anything for Jeremiah? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the statement of consistency and reasonableness as presented by the planning board.
Make a motion to adopt a statement of consistency and reasonableness as presented by the planning board.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mullen. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I'll entertain a motion to approve ZMA 753.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mullen. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it.
All right, and then we have 2 special use permit requests, both of which were held on June 2nd, following the rezoning hearings. And so the first one, special use permit number 523, Brian Moore was the applicant in this case. As I mentioned earlier, this special use permit is for a request to permit vehicle sales and vehicle repair at this property at 3012 NC 16 Business Highway. The applicant submitted their proposed findings with their application along with a proposed site development plan. You have those proposed findings of fact in your packet.
Okay, anybody have anything for Jeremiah on this one?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the findings of fact as submitted by the applicant.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve I make a motion to approve SUP number 523, Brian Moore applicant, based on the findings of facts, sir.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cena. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it, so that one passes as well. Bless you.
And lastly, we have watershed special use permit number 41. Bloom Incorporated was the applicant in this case. This is a companion case to the plan development amendment that was just decided a few moments ago. A portion of that property to be developed is located in the Mountain Island Lake Water Supply watershed, and the proposed development plan would exceed the low-density option threshold of 36% impervious coverage for the portion of the property located in that water supply watershed. So the applicant requested special use permit approval for the 1070 option, which allows up to 70% of the project area to be covered with impervious surfaces. And this is a special non-residential intensity allocation in that Mountain Island water supply watershed. You have the applicant's proposed findings of fact in your packet, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Any questions for Jeremiah? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the findings of fact as submitted by the applicant.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. And I'll entertain a motion to approve WSUP 41 Bloom.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, two-party agreement. Andrew?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Tonight, I bring before you two separate agenda items, and we'll vote on them separately, but they both tie together the big BOC new facility on Riverview Road. Back in September of 2024, the board formally requested NCDOT's Economic Development Contingency Funding in the amount of $200,000 to help install an identified signal improvement at Riverview Road and NC 150 bypass. These two agreements would help deliver that. The first agreement is a two-party agreement, a standard two-party agreement between NCDOT and Lincoln County, assigning the responsibilities of all that has to go on with essentially the expending of those funds, including bidding requirements, construction requirements, inspection requirements. So we're agreeing to follow those guidelines with NCDOT. The second item is an assumption agreement with Lincoln County and Bosch that they will in turn assume all those responsibilities that DOT assigned to Lincoln County. DOT did not want to do a three-party agreement in this case, and when pressed, they said do a two-party agreement with them. So this is how we've chose to proceed. This has been a long time coming to get us to where we're at. I will say that even though this has taken longer to get to this point than we wanted it to, that the delay on the signal going in will not hold up Bosch starting up the operation of that facility. They're going to be allowed to start up operation and get that signal going because they're not going to start up with full capacity anyway. So does anybody have any question on the two-party agreement between NCDOT and Lincoln County specifically?
Anyone have any questions for Andrew? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the two-party agreement with North Carolina DOT and Lincoln County, Riverview Road.
So moved.
All right. We've got a motion by Commissioner Mullen. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. That passes.
All right, thank you. The second item is the Public Enterprise Improvement Pass-Through and Assumption Contract that was expertly crafted to pass through those responsibilities from Lincoln County straight to Bosch. Some items of note there is that bidding will be required on this project since this is the expenditure of public funds. They will have to follow all of our and NCDOT's requirements for that. And as far as payment for the project, there will really only be one final payment request once the project is complete. Once DOT has inspected and accepted the work, only at that time would Bosch be able to be in receipt of those funds, so $200,000, and any funds over $200,000 that are to be expended would be assumed by Bosch in any case. So there's no financial liability on the county at all for passing through these funds to Bosch. So any questions on the pass-through and assumption agreement?
Any questions? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the pass-through and assumptions contract, Lincoln County, Bosch Riverview Road, NC 150 bypass signal improvement.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, next is Deanna for public hearing school expansion financing.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight, we have asked y'all to hold a public hearing on the financing for the school expansion of St. James Elementary. We have a not-to-exceed price of, I believe it's $13 million, although I believe we're only going to finance $11,100,000 or something like that. But there are financing fees and everything else, but all that will be wrapped in and be nowhere near the $13 million. But anyways, we are here tonight for the public hearing that we would ask you would hold.
Okay, I will open the public hearing concerning school expansion financing. And we have one person signed up to speak, and that would be Gunny Hull.
County Commissioners, Gunny Hull, 319 North Poplar Street, Lincoln. I want to read something to you. I was going to read last meeting that I was here. I apologize. I thought I'd run out of time, but it should have been first. So that's what I'm going to do now. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, it says, "These are the commandments, the statutes, the judgments which Yahweh your Yah commanded to teach you, that you might do them in a land whither you go to possess it, that thou mayest fear Yahweh thy Yah, to keep all his statutes and all his commandments which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, in all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and deserve to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that it may increase mightily, as Yahweh, Yah thy fathers, have promised thee, in a land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Yah is one Yahweh. And thou shalt love Yahweh thy Elohim with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. Thou shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them upon a sign upon thy hand, and shall be as frontlets between thy eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the post of thy house and on thy gates." So one of the questions I've got for you, and concerning public schools and stuff, is how much money are we spending in this county per cat and dog? With this $15 million we just, y'all approved and spent on that, and that was only a small portion of it. I'd like to know how much per each one we're paying. Because on the opposite side, I want to know how much money we're paying per student in public schools. Now, I've heard some bad things that's going on, or the buildings are not what they ought to be. And what I just read, we had the 10 Commandments, we had the prayer taken out of schools, and we have done nothing but went down. We had a high school principal who was preying on students, male students, as a sodomite here in the county. We got across the nation, we got teachers, and don't know it's not going on here in Lincoln County, that they're preying on students and sexually molesting them, sending them nude pictures and everything else. So it's about time we go back to what worked. And the number one textbook in our school system in this state, or in this country, at one time was the Holy Bible. And that's what was used, and even Congress paid to have scriptures printed up so they could give them to Indians and other ones. So this separation of God and state is a bunch of lie. There's a separation of state and church, but not of the other way around. So we need, and the federal government with President Trump and everything else has been praying before his meetings and everything else, and yet we don't do it here. It's like we prayed to unknown God, whether it's Buddha, Allah, whoever it may be, but not Yahweh, who we established this country on. And then we stopped it going on in schools and everything else, take discipline out, and so now they're not learning reading, writing, and arithmetic. So maybe you can tell me where I can go, and maybe it's county manager, maybe it's through the school board or whatever, but I'd like to, like I said, know how much money we're spending per cat and dog and per student. Thank you.
All right. Being no additional speakers signed up to speak, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and I will entertain a motion to adopt the school expansion financing as presented.
So moved, sir.
All right, motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that passes. We'll move on to item number 7. Mr. Hauser, approval of capital improvements.
Good evening, Commissioners. Come before you as far as for approval for our capital improvement plan to reallocate funds from our vehicle budgets as far as for existing parts of the Sheriff's Office to upgrade our detention center and Sheriff's Office jail video surveillance system. This includes a new DVR as well as replacing any of the analog video cameras over to digital video cameras, and this covers everything that was not included within the jail expansion. So we'll combine all of these to make this compatible with all of them.
So this is making all the systems compatible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the capital improvement for KNC Technologies quotes 2024 through -3548 and 2024-3704 for milestone security camera server and camera upgrades for the Sheriff's Office Detention Center.
So moved, sir.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, it passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to Deanna for adoption and reimbursement resolution to reimburse the county for expenditures prior to debt financing.
Good evening again. Now I'd ask that you adopt the resolution. It's a reimbursement resolution for any expenses that the county reimburses that were incurred before the financing. This is just something that is required per statute for the financing, that we can reimburse ourselves for expenses and funds that are expended prior to receiving the funds for the financing, which will not happen until August. And I do know the schools have some funds that they'd like to be reimbursed in July, but without this, we can't do that. So that's what I'm asking you to do today.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Deanna? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt a reimbursement resolution to reimburse the county for expenditures prior to the debt financing.
So moved.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Patton. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that
Thank you.
passes. Thank you. All right, number 9, ordinance amending Chapter 70 of the Lincoln County Code of Ordinances. Ms. Gilbert.
All right, so before us tonight, we have an ordinance amending Chapter 70 of the Lincoln County Code of Ordinances. This is the parking ordinance that the county has. This is being updated to include properties that the county leases or operates, because the county does lease and operate a few properties in the county. This will just allow also an employee who is tasked with operating that property to make the decision to tow. So for the park at Beatty's Ford, the Parks and Rec staff have that ability to make a decision if someone should be towed, if they know that they are illegally parked. This is the second introduction of this ordinance, so I would request approval.
Okay. Any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the ordinance amending Chapter 70 of the Lincoln County Code of Ordinance.
So moved.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so that passes. All right, I believe you have the next item.
Next up is an ordinance amending Chapter 111 of the Lincoln County Code of Ordinances. This is the peddlers and solicitors ordinance. The old ordinance was very outdated and needed to be updated. This is for people who are either going door to door and selling a product that day or selling services or products in the future. That is the difference between a peddler and a solicitor. The state statutes also allow us to require a permit, and it seems that it would be helpful for law enforcement and others to know who is in the area. So we are going to incorporate in a requirement for a permit. However, the proposed ordinance, I have the permit section would not be effective until January 1st. That permit will be issued by the county manager's office. So we need time to get the process up and running. So that wouldn't be effective until January 1, but the rest of the ordinance would go into effect when adopted, hopefully at next month's meeting. This does have a criminal aspect to it, so it cannot be adopted tonight, but it is introduced for comments and questions and any changes that are needed.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Ms. Gilbert?
So if we, because it has a criminal aspect to it, if we all agree to it as unanimously, then we don't have to come back for one more time, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Number 11, you're still on deck.
Next is the master agreement between Lincoln County and the city of Lincolnton. This has been in the works by the county manager. He's been pushing this since he started, and we're going on 3 years. But we have finally got it narrowed down, and we're getting a master agreement between the county and the city. So there will be a master agreement and then multiple addendums that are attached to it, as you all see. Each addendum is for a different department and what is provided by those departments. So there is planning and inspections, there's public utilities, and planning and inspections is inspections and code enforcement. Then there is the tax office. Susan Sain serves as the tax administrator for both the city and the county under this agreement. There is the SRO agreement where the county funds the SROs, 911 communication, because we do provide communication services for the city, and animal services. We do provide animal control for the city, and each addendum breaks down the costs that are associated with it. I know this is set to go before the city council at its second meeting in June. It's not holding a meeting in July, but it is holding one the last Thursday of this month. So any questions? And I request that you approve as submitted.
Okay.
Chairman, so we've had multiple meetings, I'll make this real brief, and we feel that this captures everything where there is cost that's exchanged between the county and the city outside of any very other specific agreement, but we think this encapsulates everything. We may stumble across another agreement at some point, but we've met multiple times with the city manager and his staff to try to see if this was pretty much everything that we were aware of, and this is everything that we were able to compile. So just putting it on the board's radar, we think this is pretty inclusive, but there may be something that pops up that would have to add as an amendment to this at some point.
And the agreements that are outstanding are canceled by the agreement. Some of them are explicitly stated. There are currently 6 or 7 for public utilities alone. Those are specifically stated. There are some for IT services that were never terminated. So those are all terminated in this agreement as well. But like David said, we could find more.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the master agreement between Lincoln County and the city of Lincolnton.
I'll make a motion.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? All right, it passes. Thank you. Number 12, Airport Advisory Board bylaws. Ms.
All right,
Gilbert.
next up, so on the consent agenda tonight, you all voted to create the Airport Advisory Board. So this is the bylaws and operating procedures that would control this board. One thing I wanted to put out is that this is a 5 voting member board, but when they are put on for their initial terms, 2 of them who will serve a 1-year term, and 3 of them will serve 3-year terms. This will allow the stagger to start, and but anyone who serves in those initial terms, that will not be counted as their term of terms. It won't count towards, their maximum amount of terms they can serve at a time. Yeah, there we go, term limits. This follows a lot of the bylaws and procedures we have for other boards, but if there are any questions, please feel free and adopt.
Okay, anyone have any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Airport Advisory Board bylaws as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the Airport Advisory Board bylaws as submitted.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Mullen. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. That passes. Now we will move on to item 13, public comment. This is where all citizens are allowed to address the board concerning any matter. Let me remind you that we'll give you 3 minutes for individuals, 5 for group, and as you step to the podium, if you would, state your name and address. First on the list we have signed up to speak is Gunny Hull.
County Commissioners, I'm not sure if you're aware, or maybe you're not, or whatever, but I grew up on a farm in the rural end of the county, which way back then we didn't have all these regulations. It's amazing to me that I come here and hear like it's almost in the city limits. But we had cows, and we enjoyed, well, sometimes maybe not, but milking the cows, and we did enjoy the milk and the butter and the ice cream and everything else. It's going on at a state level, but y'all represent us here in the county, and it's supposed to go down and go up. Too many people think you go to the top and try to get things to work down. But we have allowed, again, the veterans or those on active duty served for freedom and liberty, as well as protecting us from people from across the water or maybe down below or up above as well. But when it becomes a law that you can't at least buy raw milk, then we don't have more freedom and liberty. We've got a loss of it. So what's before, that's already been diminished. But what's before us now is that they're voting. I hadn't checked today or to see if anything's moved ahead, but voting that you can't even buy raw cow's milk to give to your cats and dogs. So, like I said, I don't know how many farms we actually have and how many cows are in the county, and most of them did a lot more than what we did. Went to most of the milk, or about all the milk, goes to a facility that it is pasteurized and homogenized and all this other junk. But like I said, I would petition y'all that y'all put your leverage in that needs to be ceased at the state level, and because like I said, it's hurting us. And like I said, we talked about COVID, talked about other issues, but there's natural things that when we start messing with, we're thinking we're playing God, and we're not. And when we start messing with the vital things, whether it's seed, whether it's milk, or whether it is, we're hurting our bodies. And then not only are we hurting our bodies, what y'all are more responsible for as any adult, we're supposed to be looking after the best interests of children, and filling them full of soft drinks and candy and all that junk is not. where natural grazed crops and milk is. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, we have Hannah Hauser.
Hannah Hauser, 191 Planters Row Road, Iron Station, North Carolina. Good evening. Tonight, I ask this board to put the same energy and effort into civic involvement as this administration does to closing off public transparency under the guise and pretense of county manager work groups. Lincoln County appears to have 26 citizen boards and committees that have important roles in our everyday lives. Yet notices about vacant seats are tucked deep in an online portal and rarely shared on social media or otherwise. When vacancies are invisible, the same small circle of insiders keeps reapplying and fresh voices never have a fair shot. I would guess that we will see that pattern again tonight, when later you might be asked to reappoint members whose terms may not yet have expired without any meaningful public outreach. For the public, the door never even looked open before it swung shut again. Just a month ago, before her current term even expired, you reappointed a member who has served as chair of one board since 2016. Even the most dedicated volunteer can serve too long. After 10 years, any perspective can harden, people slip into a comfort zone, and the board begins to look like a closed circle. Robust vacancy advertising protects both the county and its volunteers from that perception. There are some simple steps you can take towards public accountability and civic engagement that large, medium, and rural counties have taken successfully. Consider adopting a 30-day advertising rule for every vacancy and impending reappointment. Specify the channels for advertising vacancies, whether it's a banner on the county website, social media posts, press releases, an email blast to civic and faith groups or neighborhood associations, an annual expirations calendar so citizens can see openings months in advance, and maybe even ask each board to recruit 2 new applicants for every expiring seat. For their ongoing work, consider requiring every board to file a publicly available 1-page annual report of its work. And critically, limit any chair of a board or committee to 2 consecutive 1-year terms before handing the gavel to the next leader. These moves guard against burnout, broaden leadership, and reassure taxpayers that no single voice defines any one board indefinitely. Better yet, these practices cost almost nothing. You can turn these hidden vacancies into public invitations. Prove that Lincoln County truly welcomes the ideas of young professionals, parents, veterans, small business owners, and retirees alike. Our founders envisioned a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Let's live up to that idea.
Okay, next on the list, we have Sydney Wolf.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Sydney Wolf. I'm going to decline my address this time because I've been here enough times. You guys have my address, and I'm concerned about my personal safety. I do own a home in Lincoln County and have for 12 years, though. I'm the vice president of the Fancy Mouse Breeders Association and the Rare and Exotic Rodent Keepers Association. Here tonight to address the new appointments to the boards and speak out once again about the pending exotics ban. You claim this exotic ban is about safety, but public records requests show that Animal Services repeatedly failed to do anything about dogs with multiple bite histories just in the last year, including one family of dogs in Denver who have viciously attacked 4 times off their own property since 2023, and they have never been issued a citation. In fact, only 1 citation has been issued since 2023. 1, and it wasn't even that serious of a bite. If safety was the main concern, why has so little been done about the dangerous dogs in our community when you're so focused on exotics? There has not been a serious exotic issue in Lincoln County ever, yet you ignore that fact. It's been mentioned that people in our community don't like exotics and may be afraid of them. Well, if y'all are willing to ban exotics over somebody's pansy little feelings and ignore facts, do I need to be concerned that you're coming for my guns next? Because you're certainly acting like a bunch of rhinos. Where does your rhino overreach end? Remember, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Thank you. All right, having no one else signed up to speak, I will close the public hearing, or public comments, excuse me. Okay, then I guess I'll reopen the public hearing. Comments, I mean, we've got to sign up, so, I mean,
It wasn't out here, and I was here before 6:30. You've discussed spending up to $13 million to expand St.
if you
James
would, please
Elementary
state your
School.
name and address.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Jesse Putnam, 4265 Kent Street, Maiden. You've discussed spending up to $13 million to expand St. James Elementary School. How can you do this with the state of all the other schools in the county? Are you aware that aside from North Lincoln High School, that all Lincoln County schools have a problem with black mold? They do mold cover-up by sanding and painting, but with all the leaks, the mold comes back every year. Kids are sitting in classrooms that exceed 80 degrees Fahrenheit because the old HVAC systems are in constant need of repair. There's only one floor stripping machine to be shared by every school in the county. I've got pictures of ceilings falling from leaks that never get fixed. Employees have been told not to drink the water because there is lead present in these old deteriorating buildings. Eric Eaker, Chief Operations for Lincoln County Schools, has consistently denied any work orders above $150. He's also the one cutting janitorial budgets using watered down and cheaper cleaning chemicals. If you can't afford bleach and drywall, why are we spending $13 million on one school? I have pictures and anonymous statements from school employees I'd be happy to share with you or anyone in the audience or the public. I just want to deal with the real issues of health and public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, having no one else signed up, I will close public comments and move on to item number 14. Deanna Rios.
Back again. All right, tonight we're going to go through the finance report for April through April 30th, which is 83% of the fiscal year. Investment earnings for the year are holding pretty steady. So far, we have $2.6 million in the general fund investment account through the end of April. As of the compilation of this report, there was $1.4 million in the pooled interest account that will be distributed later on this month to the various funds. We budgeted $2.2 million this year so far, and that amount is mainly due to the higher rates that we've had in the past several years. It is lower than last year, but it's higher than it's been for several years prior. Taxes budgeted for the fiscal year are $88.9 million. Through April, we had collected a little bit more than we had budgeted, and we expect a little bit more to be collected before year, but not much because most everybody has paid. Sales taxes for 25 are budgeted at 33.4. We've received 26.1 for the first 8 collection months. That does include the Article 46. It does go to the schools. General fund revenues, total revenues are just below 96%. Expenditures are at 74. Utility fund revenues are at 83 and expenses are at 74. Solid waste fund revenues are at 108% and expenses are at 79. And we did pay a bunch of the school debt this month, so that'll be reflected in the year-end numbers. And as we stated, we're gearing up for fiscal year-end. The auditors were here in May. They will be back in September. We're already getting ready, closing the books. We should have the audit to the LGC at the end of October. And as we had discussed earlier, we are working on the school financing, which is phase 1 of 6 different schools being improved upon in the next few years. And I believe, like I said, this goes to the LGC on the 5th of August and should be closed by the 15th and funded. Are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions? All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have County Manager Report. Mr. Madden.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening. It's a couple of project updates. One is talk about the historic courthouse. So we had a pre-construction meeting was held this previous week on June the 10th. As y'all know, the memorials were moved in a safekeeping area for time being, and the fence that was expanded on the perimeter so that the outside work can begin. In regards to jail expansion, work continues there. There are some earthwork issues that are trying to be resolved now, and I know we're working through that. We're working with the city to create flow redundancy and looking at creating a water line loop. I've made many of you aware of that, and we're working on that, and we don't really have an ETA, but that is the plan. That'll be beneficial to us because as we construct the animal service facility, that'll be a benefit to have that extra water flow for that site as well. In regards to McBee Street, the renovations, that's our new IT location, are completed, and the certificate of occupancy has been issued, and they'll be moving in this week if everything goes according to plan. I know that we're looking at the Charlie District offices in planning phase, and drawing reviews are currently underway. DSS expansion is still in the planning phase with space needs. We have, as per the commissioners, some of these things, we know these are needs and we haven't lost sight of them, but we've kind of paced ourselves on how we've structured some of the projects. Update on the airport hangar site preparation, i.e. Phase 2, recently went out for bids, but in further review, we just met recently. I want to make the board aware we've decided to reject those bids. What we're doing, we're updating the bid documents and issuing new bid requests because we wanted to improve the project site for future development. And so when looking at those bids, we realized it would be better if we expanded that out some, and this is something that we know need to be done. So that's underway, and we'll be reissuing those bids to further compensate that. And as a reminder, the Board of Commissioners will not have a early July meeting per our annual schedule. And just know that the next regular Board of Commissioner meeting will be held on Monday, July the 21st. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
In the Charlie District office, did the ABC board do the repairs on the roof and ceiling, the outside before we took over?
I don't know if all of that repair was done, Commissioner Cecina, because there was a damage on where the waste site was too. But I do think there was they did get called back out for the roof, but related to where the dumpster was, I don't know if any of that was done or not. I'm not sure.
Could you check on that?
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Thanks, because they were supposed to have had that done before we took possession.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was actually done or not. I'm hoping that when they called them out there, they did it, but I don't know on that one.
Thanks.
Okay. Item 16, County Attorney's Report.
Just small report tonight, since I had so much on the agenda. This is the time of year where the bills start to get adopted at the state level, so I've been monitoring those. 2 major bills have come down that affect local governments. The first impacts our law enforcement personnel. They have changed the way that law enforcement special separation allowance works for anyone who retires on or after July 1st of this year. Moving forward, there will be 2 options that they can choose from. It mainly will benefit those who start very early in life in law enforcement and can retire very early. It will benefit them more than any, but choose to work longer. This had full support of all law enforcement agencies across the state and full support at the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. So this was adopted last Friday as law. So I'm working with finance and HR to get those documents and make sure we're following along. I know we do have one upcoming retirement, so we will have to deal with that first one.
What's the change?
So right now, the way that it works is you can, if you retire with 30 years or at age 55 with 5 continuous years, you can get it until you turn 62. So a lot of people retire either right at 30 years or when they turn 55 because they want that benefit until they turn 62. Now, you can get it after age 62. They just pay it for the amount of years you would be eligible to get it in the first time. So say you're eligible to get it at age 50, but you want to work till you're 60. Then you can get it for 12 years because they take 62 minus the age at which you would have received it, which was 50, and you get it for 12 years. So we will be doing more calculations, but you can get it past the age of 62. It allows people to work longer. It seemed like that was the goal because a lot of people, and I think a lot of agencies are struggling to sometimes keep staff, and they feel like that may keep people there because a lot of people wanted to retire to get that because they would lose it if they retired later. So that's the one major change in it. Also, it does require 50% law enforcement when it used to not. So it does require 50% of your time in the retirement system to be law enforcement now for both routes. So that is the one major change there. And then there was a law that came down for Register of Deeds. It is changing requirements for birth certificates for adoptees. So if someone is adopted, they now have to issue a new birth certificate, and then they take the old birth certificate, put it in storage, and seal it at the state. But our Register of Deeds is required to remove it from their records and create a new birth certificate. So that is changing. I know that Danny and Melissa were aware of this coming down the pipe, but it did pass last week. And that's all I have to report.
Okay. Does any county commissioner have anything to report? Okay. Hearing none, I'll go to item 18, vacancies and appointments. Commissioner Mullen.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for Library Board to reappoint Doris Little at large seat for her second term, Agnes Scurry, Howards Creek Township for their second term, and Abby Hollis, Lincoln Township for the first term. Animal Services to reappoint Stephanie Westmoreland, Community Animal Group Representative for term 2. Historic Properties Preservation Commission to reappoint Kyle Land as alternate for his term 1. And Planning Board to reappoint Chantel Donofrio for Top Springs Township, term 1.
Okay, and those are in the form of a motion.
Can I have a quick ask?
Yes.
Which one of the young ladies at the library board decided she wanted to leave? I thought it was the Abby lady.
It was, but I believe she had a change of heart and submitted her application last week.
Good,
Yep.
thank you.
So everyone understands the motion by Commissioner Commissioner Mullen. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right, any other business to come before the board? I'll bring up an item I know we've kind of discussed amongst the 5 of us, is changing some of the meetings. Our agendas, our meetings are scheduled for the evenings. I know we've talked at some length to possibly move one into the day and then keep one at night. That way that will allow staff to be here, and for those people who can't travel at night or feel uncomfortable traveling at night, to also allow them time to be here as well. So we can bring more discussion to that if anybody wants to add anything to that at this time, or does any? How do you want to do it? I know the talk was do one in the day and one at night. So like the first meeting of the month would be during the day, and the second meeting would be in the evening. So, I mean, it's nothing we have to vote on right now. I'm just bringing it to everybody's attention that it's been discussed, and we can have further discussion on it. So, is there anything anybody else would like to add to that?
Chairman, may I add this one point, because you covered it, but so as y'all know, and I appreciate y'all having more discussion on this part of this got started, I think, when one of our workshops during the budget process, and you're right, the first meeting of the month definitely needs to be a night meeting because of the joint planning board meeting. That's obvious. The second meeting was looked at as possibly being a day meeting, maybe around 10 a.m. is just a discussion point, because some of the benefit was that there's a lot of work session stuff that the board would like to do that just really doesn't get facilitated as easy at night because staff availability and et cetera, that would allow more staff during the day. And I just want to bring it to the board. That was one of the questions that got brought up, that it might be a benefit to the board in order to have that, if it was desired to have that on that daytime meeting.
Okay.
What I was going to say is, what I'd recommend is maybe let Jennifer work on getting possibly a schedule proposed. Is that what you're asking, Commissioner Cecina? If she can get a schedule proposed for the board to consider, we can bring it up in maybe our July meeting, possibly the board would like to, and that'd give her a chance to let y'all look at those dates and make sure everything looks reasonable.
Okay. Is there anything anybody else would like to add as far as other business? Okay. All right, we'll move to item number 20, closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A36 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer, employee, or prospective public officer or employee.
Okay, we have a motion to go into closed session by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. We are now in closed session. we're back in open session. So have a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjust Susan Sane, tax administrator's salary to $137,564.34, effective the first pay period in July, and this is based on her annual evaluation.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So that is approved. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Patton. All in favor?
Aye.